My brother, welcome back to Content HQ, baby.
Thank you, man.
Kind of tell the audience, for those who don't know, tell us your name, what you do, and where you're from.
Yeah, bro. Well, for those of you that haven't watched me before, maybe the first time seeing my face, I'm Milo. Been trading ICT for the past 5 years. I'm from London, and originally I flew out of London because it's definitely not a nice place to be anymore, and started traveling all around the world, mainly due to the fact that tax purposes, we don't pay tax.
Yeah.
So we got to keep it moving, otherwise we become tax residents.
Yeah, 100%. And so kind of just tell us more about what you do and your background and how your rise to, where you're at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been trading NASDAQ futures for the past 3 to 4 years. And predominantly before that, originally I got into crypto. And I got lucky straight off the bat. I took my first trade and it was profitable. Made about $1,000 to $2,000. To me at the time, when I was 15, 16 years old, I felt like I was a millionaire. I felt, I could go to the shop, purchase a few outfits. To me, that was all that I wanted really. Then from that point, I realized I can make money from trading. And then I started to look at other aspects in order to actually have a model, because I didn't have a model. I just assumed Bitcoin was going to go up, purchased it in 2020. And you can't lose money if you're purchasing Bitcoin in 2020 at $7,000,
Yeah, especially now too.
Exactly, yeah. And now from that point, I wasn't profitable. I actually lost all of that money and I went into a negative with trading. So I wasn't making money for a very, very long time. Until eventually in 2021, I came across ICT, and the 2022 mentorship, it wasn't already out. So I started with the Market Maker series myself. That itself wasn't enough to turn me profitable. I was still struggling with the Market Maker series and actually finding a consistent model that I could actually work with. Because to this day, I have a very solid checklist that I follow each day, a structured approach for price. Now, with the 2022 mentorship, it actually simplified and gave me that approach where each day I have the same structured approach. And the 2022 model is what resonated with me the most.
Okay, got it. So for both those who don't know, kind of explain more about what ICT trading is and the difference between day trading and ICT trading, because I feel like the audience might not really know much of the difference.
So day trading and trading ICT, I trade more on an intraday time frame. So I'm in and out of price within a matter of 15 to 30 minutes. And a lot of people, they don't understand when they determine daily bias and they look at the daily candle, for example, they don't understand that, yes, you understand that the next daily candle is going to draw higher or lower, but we're talking about 16 1-hour candles here. We're not talking about the next 30 minutes on where price is going to go. And it's very important that you pair the higher time frame bias with the lower time frame bias. For example, any time frame below the 1-hour time frame. Yeah. If you have both the lower and the higher time frame and they both indicate, say, we're going to likely draw higher or draw lower, then you have a strong bias. On days that you have a neutral bias and you don't understand where price is going to go, usually all you have to do is let price unfold and it will start to build a picture, either drawing towards London highs, going to take out previous day low, either tapping into, say, some sort of unfilled imbalance. Then you can start to build a picture and a bias from that point. But it's very important that you look at the daily and work your way down to determine a bias.
Okay, got it, man. Perfect. And so for the viewers, what are some early challenges you faced that you think can relate to someone that's watching right now?
Absolutely. I think one thing that everyone relates to is little startup capital, where originally they start with, say, $500, $800 in their bank, and they're thinking, how do I get into trading if I'm trading a $500 account?
Yeah.
Because you can't make money from a $500 account. Realistically, on average, I'd make 5 to 10% a month. And that is extreme. That's a very good month, right? Even hedge funds themselves, they don't pull that much per month. They aim for, say, 1% or 12% per year. So on average, I'm pulling 5 to 10% a month. Obviously, I'm trading my account sizes. Hedge funds trade on a very, very, very low risk. So there's a difference there. But for someone who's actually new and they don't have that much startup capital, prop firms is definitely the way to go and start to leverage that. Go down the route of trading top step accounts, Apex, etc. Apex, maybe not so much because they're not the best prop firm, but Top Step is #1 in the space. My funded futures. I don't promote prop firms. I'm not looking to get paid by a prop firm on an affiliate, so don't reach out to me. I just promote the prop firms which are legit. And I know people personally, including myself, who have actually been paid out by that prop firm. So that's why I push people in that direction.
Okay, awesome. So for the audience, who would you say was your mentor? Who taught you everything that you know right now? Because it seems like it's very complicated to start or very complicated to understand in the beginning. So who would you say is someone to look up to in this industry?
The top people to look up into in the industry, there's not many on YouTube, and there's a lot of people who are going to misguide you and mislead you all over social media, telling you one thing, telling you another thing. When you approach price, now you're sweating your chair and you don't even know what to look for, right?
Yeah.
And that's majority of cases. If you speak to people, what is your model? What is your checklist? What do you abide by each day? They don't know. And they're sat there with no model, right? The people that I look up to myself is obviously who I learned from, Inner Circle Trader himself. He's very big on YouTube. And since we last done a podcast here, he's grown massively, probably another 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Him in itself, I don't know him as a person, so I'm not going to comment on that. But the 2022 mentorship, the Market Maker series, is what I originally started from. Then I used the data from the trades I took through 2024, 2023, and I've implemented rules myself.
Okay.
If I was to put out a few rules that I've implemented myself, which has cut out, say, 20 to 30% of the losses through 2024, it would be the 5 to 15 minute rule. Without the chart, it's a little more difficult to explain, but I can explain that the 5 and 15 minute draw, if you are inside an imbalance, inside a 5 or 15 minute imbalance / fair value gap, going against the trade you're looking to take, for example, longs, if you're inside a 5 or 15 minute bearish gap, that's going against your trade. Therefore, it's now a B+ setup, not A+, if the other requirements were already there.
Okay, got it, man. Got it. So, I gotta ask you, Milo, are you a course seller right now? Are you selling a course right now? Or how can people kind of learn more about what you do every single day?
Right. I wouldn't label myself as a course seller.
I know.
But originally, when I first started social media, I uploaded videos of my trades, live streams of my trades, and I have done for the past 2 years. And I've never been one to not post a loss, or never been one to not post, any trades that I take, right? Transparent on both sides of the thing. Because there's a lot of traders that only post themselves taking 10-to-1 risk to rewards on FX replay, which isn't actually the trade that they took. And maybe they took a loss that day and they're still posting wins. Even with myself trading live for over 1.5 years with a community, they watch me trade live every single day, and people inside of there, they're very picky as well as myself. They also noted each trade I took through the whole year and proven to the whole audience themselves that I came out with a 63% win rate, which through the course of 2024 is a very, very good result. I'm not saying 2024 was a bad year, but it was a good year. Closed out for around 4,000 handles on NASDAQ throughout the course of that year, which is impressive. Yeah. And there's people on YouTube, right? They're claiming 80-90% win rate in their thumbnails on their YouTube videos. An actual solid win rate sits around 62-63%, which I currently sit at now over the course of a whole year.
Yeah.
If we talk in the space of month to month, January, February, March, it's going to vary massively. Say the month of April of last year, my win rate sat around 90%, which sounds disgusting. It was. The amount of money made that month was insane. But if you come to another month like November, it was around 40% win rate. That was a losing month that month. So it was not profitable. We lost around a total of 3 trades in total that month. So it was down around 70 handles or so. But then the next month I got paid out. So that's when it comes to patience. Because if someone trades the whole of that month and they don't make any money, in fact incur a loss, and then they don't wait for the model to present itself and actually turn profitable the next month, then they go in that addiction cycle of the fact they blew their accounts in November. Now in December, they're actually affected. So they're trying to build back up again.
Yeah.
But if they actually stuck to it and had the patience to wait for the model to present itself, next month they'd be getting paid out. But because of that, now they're not. And now December's messed up. Now they have to wait for January. Yeah. And the cycle continues and they go in the same cycle and they wonder why they're never getting paid out.
Wow. That's crazy. Seems like there's been some horror stories in this industry as well for ICT traders.
Exactly. I've experienced it all myself. So when I'm speaking it as of this point, I'm saying it as I've actually already done it myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a person who is amazing with patience. My patience is probably the worst out of anyone in this room. I can't wait for anything. And I've taught myself in order to actually learn patience. And it's a skill that I've developed over time. Because I struggle with a few ADHD symptoms of my mind thinking of one thing, the next thing, and the next thing. And it's jumping from one to another.
Yeah.
And the thing what I was jumping between a lot was that I need to get paid out now. I need to get funded now, get paid out now.
Need that money now.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, you think you being, impatient kind of helped you in some ways in your life at all or no?
I would say so. It depends which business you're talking about, because when it comes to business, money likes speed. So you need to be fast in your actions. And if you have an idea and you actually have a plan in place, you need to execute it fast.
Yeah.
But when it comes to other aspects like trading and executing the model, this only comes around a certain amount of times. Picture a train going around the track. There's only so many trains and they can only come at a certain time.
Yeah.
So once the train goes and you've missed it, then you can't take the trade. Or you're going to jump in the tracks.
No.
You know,
You're
so
cooked.
you actually have to wait for the model to present itself, and you can't act with speed. The slow route of you actually, you know, taking the right trades, right, is going to be the fastest route for you to get profitable. So you actually taking trade, say 1 to 3 trades a week, instead of taking 5 a day, trying to rush the process, that's going to end up being the slowest route. So when you're only taking 3 trades a week, following the model, you'll look back in 2 months and you'll be like, I was all the way down there. Now I'm all the way up here. That's the progress you made from actually taking the slower route. And you're going to be way above the person who's trying to rush it, taking 5 trades a day, and he'll still be down there.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have made any progress. And then he gets even more frustrated, obviously going back in that cycle I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And so you teach all this to your students right now, or your community that you've built, right?
So previously we had a community. As of now, I don't offer anything as of live streams, or people can watch me trade live, ask questions. I'm more focused on my own trades, and I don't want people to interfere by asking questions or why you're not trading for 3 days.
They're making too much money, guys. That's why he stopped.
That's why, you know. And it's mainly due to the fact that a lot of people can't trade the same way and have the same amount of patience, because so many people approach trading with a rushed approach to making money fast.
I think trading has that, you know, that's the stigma to it, where it's just that fast money. It's, you know, it's kind of quick cash that everyone wants to collect. It's a quick cash business model, but like in the end of the day, it's, you know, fast money, you know, goes away just as fast, right?
Exactly. I mean, if you want a business model that produces fast cash, it's definitely not trading.
Yeah.
There's other business models that you can do, and it's going to give you the money within the next 1 to 2 weeks, you know. But with a business model like trading, this takes months and months and months. And within the first couple of months, you'll be pulling and say an average salary, which someone makes at an Amazon job or a warehouse, say $2,000 a month. But as you start to scale your accounts up and have more capital and execute the model consistently, it's a snowball effect. Then you're pulling 10K months, 20, 50, 100, and it starts to scale from there.
Okay, so how do you get someone from a complete beginner, knows nothing about ICT trading? How long do you think it'd take them to get, maybe not to your level, but to a level where they're making consistent amount of money a month, where they can just kind of quit their corporate job, you know, and support their family and kind of live that Miami life, let's just say?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it was someone who's working a normal job like myself, when I was starting ICT, I was in the exact same situation. I was working parcel force job. I was in the back of the lorry getting these parcels, and I was trying to make a joke out of it because I was so bored at the time. I was slamming them down into the conveyor belt, which takes it around. So I know if any of you guys watching actually seeing a package come through smashed up, probably myself. I was
so frustrated.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was watching ICT in the back of the lorry, so I wasn't focused on the parcels.
Okay.
I was focused on trying to make it out of the warehouse and get something going for myself.
So who taught you? Who showed you ICT? Like, did you just find it yourself, you know, kind of just looking online, or?
That's actually a really interesting question. I've never actually spoke about that before. The way I actually came across ICT, because I thought I was cooked. I tried so many business models at one point.
Wait, can I guess? Drop shipping, number one, or no?
I've tried drop shipping.
Okay, there you go. You know what? That's good.
Try-
I think everyone's tried drop shipping before and it just completely crashed.
Tell me another business model.
Well, now that the SMMA model and
Tried
agency tried it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Amazon FBA.
Yeah.
Okay. What's another one?
Clothing brands.
Clothing brands.
Yeah, done it.
all of that. Well, give me another one.
Selling cars.
Selling cars. Life insurance.
Nah.
Solar.
Someone needs to sell me life insurance the way I've been moving recently. But trust me.
Real estate.
That was the avenue that I was going to go down. Right.
Really?
That was my plan B. So if I wasn't able to make money in the avenue of getting paid out from trading, that was my plan B. That I would save up money from the job I was working for a deposit and start doing HMOs in the UK.
Oh, wow.
HMO, when you split the rooms in the apartment and you rent them out, say £700 each a room, in dollars like 1,000. That's the best return for a house in the UK. That was plan B though.
Thank God.
Plan A obviously worked out. And guys, you should never have a plan B. Always
Exactly.
plan A every single time, because if you have a plan B, you already set in plan A to fail.
Great. So back to the ICT, what kind of made you find it? Were you looking online, or was this a friend that told you? How did you find yourself, you know, in this industry?
Well, the actual person who led me up to this, so we was in the gym, me and my friend Ben Kazik. A lot of people watching this would know ICT Kazik. That's his social media name there. We was coming back from the gym in Bournemouth. It was raining, cold. We was walking up the hill, and my friend tells me, he's like, "Look, I just joined Andrew Tate's room." Do you remember?
Yeah,
you know, the bold guy, right?
Yeah.
So
we all know Andrew Tate.
yeah. Everyone knows this guy. So we joined his group, and we was like, "This is, you know, the last call. We need to find something in this war room, whatever they call it." It was like $50 a month.
Yeah.
We joined it.
The real world.
We didn't get anything from it. We wasn't making any money from it. We was like, yeah, we're cooked again. So we didn't really know what to do at that point. We was like, this is last resort. we went into the trading section because we was always talking about trying to make money from trading. At the time, we was trying supply and demand, but been unsuccessful for years. We go into the chat room and they see people chatting about ICT. So we was like, what's this guy talking about ICT? And he started each week, we was looking at the chats and he submitted payout after payout after payout. I was like, this guy's making money.
Yeah.
So I direct messaged him through Andrew Tate's group on Discord at the time. And the guy reached back to me, said, I trade ICT concepts. And he said, check it out, it's free on YouTube. I was like, nah, there's no way this is all free on YouTube. Because at the time, everyone's charging 5,000, 10,000 for a course or something.
Yeah.
And I went onto YouTube and I started going through the Market Maker series. And that literally started to click. And the way I started viewing price from supply and demand or support and resistance levels at the time completely switched. Once you see ICT, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And then the way I visualized price from that point onwards was completely different. Then 6 months later, the 2022 model that I trade to this day started to get released every week. And then that's when it took off for me. And I got my first payout and then I blew off my accounts straight after.
The year that you learned, what year was that?
That was 2022 when it started to take off, when the 2022 started getting released.
And when you learned, like when you first started ICT, what year was that? Same year?
2021.
2021. So it took you probably a year to really see progress. Wow, that's crazy.
But even like just to add, when I got my first payout, I blew everything. And it was probably within the next week. Straight after getting that payout,
what'd you spend it on? Come on, you gotta tell us.
I think I went down to, I actually have a photo. I put this on my story the other day, right? So, because I just reflecting back to when my first payout was $10,000. I went down to London. So I was in Bournemouth. This is where I'm originally from. I went down to London and I went to this shop called Selfridges. Probably know it for people who've been to London. Harrods, Selfridges. Went there, bought a few designer clothes. At the time, that's all I cared about was designer clothes, etc. So I copped a few outfits. And then whilst I was in London, I looked at the PM session and I blew all my accounts. Because I thought at the time,
so fast.
Yeah, literally that fast. And the reason why I did that is because I was so confident that I was the best trader in the world. I was walking around thinking that, you know, I was on Wall Street, Wolf of Wall Street, you know. And then I got on the train on the way home. It was the New York PM session and there was no trade. There was nothing there at all. I don't even trade the New York PM session. And I just entered for price and it didn't go my way. I lost like $500 on each account. I was so annoyed that I lost $500 that I full ported all of the accounts. I lost them all the same day. And for the next 4 months, little did I know, I wasn't going to have any accounts. And that's my psychology battle, which I battled with for like 4 months. I couldn't hack it.
Yeah, so you're at the top of the mountain and then just came crashing down.
Exactly.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But you think because of that, you are where you're at, you know, today? If that didn't happen, you wouldn't be where you're at right now?
Exactly. And I feel like with psychology, everyone has to go through that process of going to the top, going back to the bottom, or being at the bottom for so long and they're just going in that same cycle. Eventually you either get sick of it and you stick to your set of rules and you stick to that model, and that's when you become consistently profitable. That's the way that actually produces the most amount of money. Because if breaking your rules made money, then I'd be breaking my rules every day. But it doesn't. So I don't know why people do it. And they also don't know why they do it, but their psychology tricks them. They trick in their own brain. If you can't control your own brain, you're finished.
Yeah, that's great, man. And something I really like about you, you know, that when I first met you, I was really surprised because you dropped so much knowledge, dropping knowledge to everybody right now is you don't sell anything. Everything, you know, obviously you're doing more private stuff now, but your community before was completely free, right? Or you can just join and just watch your live stream. He has never sold one course, guys, not once. And I met him like, dude, why are you not selling a course? Come on, it's like the thing to do right now. But you know, I've always respected that about you, that you've always wanted to actually give free value and, you know, kind of give to the people what you know. So why is that? What's the, you know, meaning behind that?
Exactly. When I first started trading, I did never see anyone on YouTube which was providing value which actually made sense. They was providing just a little bit of value, but they didn't even know what they was talking about, and you can see straight through the video that they don't know what they're talking about, and the person receiving it and watching it is not receiving any value either, and they're just left in the same position after the video, and it's just another YouTube video.
That's every course right now.
I started to see the model itself unfold in front of my eyes each day, and I was seeing consistent profit from it, and I said, look, I'm now going to put this onto YouTube for people like myself back in the day who didn't have anyone to watch or anything to see on YouTube which actually made sense. And I started to basically post these out on social media, and that's when I grew some sort of following. Nothing like some people in Miami where they have millions of followers, but it's definitely caught a few eyes and attention over social media for sure.
Okay. And would you ever have like a private, you know, bring on private students to teach them, or would you ever, do something like a course? Obviously, I know you don't really like courses, but would you kind of make it better in your own way? Would that ever something that you think about in the future?
Yeah, so I mean, as of now, I'm not selling any sort of course, etc. But when it comes to me trading in the AM session, once that's out of the way, at the moment, I'm offering a one-to-one mentorship where if aspiring ICT traders, they're currently struggling with a few topics, etc. Then I tidy up their current struggles on a one-to-one mentorship where I'm directly communicating to them, not throwing them into a classroom full of 100 or 200 people, but directly communicating with them one-to-one. And they also have my personal number, which around 3 to 4 people, including yourself, have, Yeah. And I'm not one who has a massive friend group because there's a lot of fake people around,
Yeah.
So with that being said, they can hop on a Google Meet call and I can pick out the things they're already making mistakes on without them going out and 3-4 months making the same mistake. I'll call them out straight away. And I had one trader recently, out of 5 people I'm coaching, he got paid out $28,000 in the space of 3 weeks.
Wow.
And that was crazy. And we've actually booked him a flight from New York to Miami.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how did that feel when he showed you changed his life, basically? How did that feel for you?
Yeah, exactly. He was in a similar situation to me.
Really?
And he was literally spot on with trading ICT. He was literally just there. But there was a few things he was slipping up on, mostly psychology, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we fixed his psychology. Within the space of a week, he was taking the right trades. I then told him, I said, look, transition from the demo account. He already had 5 funded accounts already when he approached me. So he had them sat to the side. I said, trade demo for 1 to 2 weeks. Get your psychology back on track. So we removed the dollar amount because the dollar amount is what everyone cares about. That's what throws them off the trade. They can't actually keep themselves on the tracks.
Yeah.
Once we got him back on track with taking the right trades, then I fixed a few things with the trades he was taking, transitioned back to the funded accounts, and then he started to scale them up from there. I told him to trade 5 micros. He was trading 12 on the funded accounts, but he had a good run, around 4 or 5 trades in profit. After the first week, he was up about 10K.
Wow.
Right. And then
first week of coaching him?
Yeah, 10K after around the 3rd week.
Wow.
So the first 1 to 2 weeks was on demo.
Okay.
And then the 3rd week, we transitioned him back to his funded accounts. And then he was up around 10K after the first week. It was a good week for him. And then the week after,
great week.
and the week after that, he was up around 20,000 and he submitted a 50% payout with Top Step and it hit the bank. And I was like, holy shit, because he made more money than me that month because Apex denied my payout. So,
oh, dang. So how old is this guy, by the way?
He's around 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's young. He didn't blow his money, right? Like you did?
I don't know what he's done with it, but I assume he spent some of it,
Yeah, that's crazy. Someone that's so young and that didn't know. Did he know something about ICT trading, or was he getting into it? Like, is there a qualification that you go through when it comes to the online for like your one-on-one coaching, or it can be anybody?
It's literally that I get them with the same thought process as me, and because my strategy that I trade with ICT is very much checklist based every single day, that we got him taking the same trades based off the same checklist, the same thought process, and the same approach to determining bias, putting the two together, and you come out of the same result pretty much every time. We trade within certain time windows. So the first day of macro is at 9:45 a.m. to 10:15. Then the second day of macro is at 10:45 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. And then the third macro, which is the start of lunch, is 11:45 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. Inside of that third macro, that's the lunch macro. Predominantly, let's say you have a huge run up inside of the first AM session, then during lunch, you usually see a run on stops for price to come back to say a discount, or let's say we've seen a sell-off in the first 2 AM macros. Inside of lunch, you usually see a run on buy stops where price will retrace back to a premium from the AM session there.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, so if you wanted to go one-on-one coaching with Milo, just send him a DM. Kind of to just go back to, growing up in, you said you grew up in Bournemouth, right?
Yeah.
In Bournemouth. So what was that, life growing up? Did you grow up with a rich family, middle-class family? And what was that moment for you when you're working with that part so that you're like, I need to get extremely rich right now? Was there a specific moment? Because whenever I talk to entrepreneurs, it always says, yes, they grew up in a bad situation or something, but there was one moment that kind of just clicked for them. So
to be honest, my family, they're perfectly fine. I'm not saying they're in a bad situation. They both work, I'd say, normal jobs.
Yeah.
And the thing that messed it up for me was myself. When I was going through school, I was never the best in school, all the way from the start in primary school, all the way up to when in the UK they call it secondary school, right? Went into sixth form, and in secondary school, I got into a fight in year 10, which I was already on the brink of getting kicked out of school.
Yeah.
Year 10, that was like the cherry on the top. There was a kid in the corridor. Previous day, we had an altercation where he threw Lucozade on my bike. So I said I'll catch him the next day. We caught him. It was on camera, and they played it like some sort of like, you know, some sort of live event inside of this room of the head teacher. And he put it in slow motion of my fish just going through his face.
Oh my God.
And one of my friends was like dragging him off, and then about 15 people ran in as well. It was quite bad.
Okay.
That led me to getting kicked out. And then I went down the route of sixth form, didn't get the best grades. And those exams in itself, I cheated in because I already knew I was cooked. And then I knew from that point I couldn't go uni. That led me to the warehouse. And then from the warehouse, I knew I was cooked and I had to make something work. So it's been a journey.
It's quite of a journey. So it was in the warehouse where you're like, okay, I gotta do something about this right now.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, man. That's great. So, man, it's been quite of a journey for you, man. And it's crazy that you're here right now with us and everyone in this room. So it's awesome. And would you say, you know, everyone that you've learned from, like, who's been, I guess, that number one mentor for you? You said it was Michael, right? So what about Michael you think is kind of makes him like the best, like, as you mentioned earlier? I
think Michael, like the way he explains each topic is very, very, you could say simple, but at the same time, he talks a lot of stuff that he doesn't need to speak about. So he started bringing his son, his wife, his dog into the whole YouTube video, which really doesn't help because with me with ADHD, I can't sit there and listen to someone speaking about those type of topics. I need to get straight to the point, straight to it. So that's why, going back to why I created my channel on YouTube, I've simplified it, the whole of the 2022 mentorship in the space of 15 to 20 minutes. Instead of watching the whole 2022, which is literally around 40 hours of content, you could watch a 30-minute video.
40 hours of content? Did you watch all 40 hours?
I watched it 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
No, I've seen it like 5 times, the whole thing 5 times.
Wow, that's crazy. So you made a more condensed version for on YouTube, as on your channel right now. And what's your channel?
ICTFanatic, the one this will be posted on,
Okay, got it. Perfect. In case, you know, it's on, you know, on Instagram Reels or something, so they know.
We're running this channel up to 100K subscribers this
100K
year.
100K subscribers,
it's
awesome.
It's going to happen,
So what other content can they expect from this channel?
Pretty much anything that goes.
Anything that goes.
Because once we're done in the AM session, then after that, we usually get quite active. So we're doing a car purchase tomorrow. This is a big one. And as you guys are watching this podcast now, you'd already know what car it is. So the car purchase, we're getting a Rolls-Royce Cullinan tomorrow.
Let's go, dude. Congratulations.
I'm kind of gassed for it, to be honest. I mean, my last car, it was a BMW Series 3 or 3 Series, whatever they call it. And it was $800. It blew up.
Whoa, what?
It blew up. I was driving it back from London. I was working in the warehouse at the time, and this was like 2-3 years ago, and it was blow up on the way back. So I didn't purchase a car since.
So I think that was your I gotta get out of here moment when your car blew up. On the way to
I've had the worst experience of cars. Worst experience, And
you also like bikes, right? I saw you were in Dubai riding bikes all over the city.
I love bikes. As much as I love bikes, my friend almost died on a bike. So we was in Thailand and we was ripping them down the street, and the adrenaline aspect of things, when you're that close to death, that's like the best feeling ever. I can't describe it. Some people won't feel the same feeling or know the same thought, but for those that know, they know. And if you ride bikes, comment below what bike you ride. But I was on an R1M at the time and I was racing my friend, we was cutting in and out of traffic. This Thai lady, we was in Thailand, right? She just goes straight to the fast lane with a 125 and a cage attached to the side of it with bananas on it. I'm dead serious. My friend was flying, trying to catch me. He was doing 130 miles an hour. Didn't see the lady, and his kneecap goes on the other side of the motorway. His leg is snapped back the other way, and his whole back has road rash like you've never seen. I think one of his bones out the back was visible.
Wow.
So he was on like some serious drugs for about a month for the pain, because he had a surgery to reconstruct his knee and everything. When I seen that, I was like, I love bikes. I'm still gonna ride bikes. Got them on the next day, but the way I ride bikes is not the same. After seeing that. And he had 2 crashes in the same week. So he crashed, dislocated his hip, got back on a week later, and then lost his kneecap. And then he had a 6-month break, which, I mean, most people would after the first crash, right?
No, that's insane, man. And this is your best friend, you said?
Yeah. I known him since I was 7 years old. He trades ICT the exact same as I do.
Did you train him how to do ICT, or you guys got kind of both got into it?
We almost say we have the same brain, like 50-50. Like if I'm thinking about going to do something, it'd probably already be there.
And when it comes to your friends growing up, like how many of them you think kind of you weeded out throughout this whole process, or kind of started to lynch on top of you, you know, once you see you kind of growing and see you making all this money, did any of them kind of start becoming fake or start using you? You know, how does that process go for you?
It's kind of a weird moment because even through the starting processes of just trying different businesses, it was predominantly just me and Ben. And we was always talking, going down the pier on the beachfront, just sat there on the bench for like 10 hours, trying to figure out some sort of business model that would just set us free. We only wanted to make $100 a day online, and that was the overall goal. And with that, we was trying business model after business model. Eventually something took off in 2021, 2022. And my circle was small. When I was in school, there was like 15 of us, but they all went off and did certain jobs, plumbing, electrician, and a few friends, they started smoking weed. And I've never been into that because that really fucks with your mind.
Yeah.
And it makes you slow in the head. You speak to these people and they're losing brain cells. So I had to cut them off. I had to cut them off. They have no ambitions and they wasn't going anywhere. And they still aren't to this day. In fact, one of them texted me the other day for some money.
No.
So I sent them a message back, just get your stuff on track, because you sent me the same message 6 months ago.
Really?
And they're still in the same position.
Have you ever sent them money?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't send anyone money. If you're a full-grown man, even if you're homeless, full-grown man on the street, he needs to be getting his own money. If it's a lady on the street, I'm giving her money. If it's a mother, she's getting money. But a full-grown man on the street should never be asking for money. He's never in the position for that. Anyone can go work a normal job and pull in $2,000 a month.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And I guess so your circle is very small, you say right now, right?
Exactly. There's like 3 of us, including yourself.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. I'm in the Miami circle.
Yeah, exactly.
When you come to Miami, you hit me up. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, I mean, are you staying in Miami? Are you going to move out of here? I know you're just jumping all over the world. So kind of, when are you going to, stay in one place for more than 2 days?
To be honest, we'll probably stay in Miami for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And we have an apartment over in Design District.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice.
But we're thinking of going down to Houston, Texas.
Oh.
Probably stay down there for a few months. We'll see.
Houston. So why Houston specifically?
Well, the Latinos, they like to come through the borders from Mexico.
Oh, no. Well, not anymore, honestly. I think I shut down. So I think there's a bunch of rednecks over there now.
Yeah, Trump,
so
he cut the circulation.
Yeah, he cut the circulation of that. So, I mean, besides that, is there a reason why Houston specifically, or is it because you can cut out the noise over there? It's not really like Miami where there's just so many distractions, or what's the reason behind that?
I would just say the time zone's number one. That's 1 hour behind New York, so 8:30 time zone. I quite like that. Where it's not too early and it's not too late. California, nah.
Yeah, you can't do
California's like, I've been in Phoenix and there's 6:30 a.m. market open. Some nights, one night we drove to LA because there's a straight road and we was just ripping this car like 200 miles an hour.
Oh man.
And we came back and it was already 3 a.m. And we was like, well, the market opens in 3 hours. So I stayed up. That's how early it is. So that time zone's too early. Besides the time zone, they got some lovely houses there, like big houses. So we're gonna go there. They have one of the best gyms in the US as well. And I really want to go to that gym.
Which one is it?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I've seen photos
in Houston?
Yeah. They got a
Lifetime?
big gym.
It's not Lifetime, right? No. Okay. Well, yeah.
You know, in America, they play like baseball or they call it football, right?
Yeah, football.
'cause it's 2 different things from the UK. But
yeah, of course.
the one where they throw the ball, they have a full pitch like that, including the gym, and they have an outdoor gym, indoor gym, and way more facilities. So I want to check it out. I'm kind of big into going gym. I'm not big at all.
I mean, I know you can tell Milo's really tall. How tall are you?
6'5".
6'5", yeah. He's huge. I mean, to me at least. I mean, you're.
Yeah, but bro, I always struggle with like putting on weight. You know, some people, they can eat a few meals and it works for them. But for me, it's like, if I don't eat enough calories for say 1 or 2 days, I've been going gym for 2 months, like consistently bulking. 2 days I don't eat, it's all gone. And I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe there's something wrong with me.
You're lucky, man.
It just doesn't work.
I eat for a couple of days and my freaking face starts getting puffy. I look fat again. I'm like, okay, I got to go back in the sauna for like 5 hours and burn everything off.
It just doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah. So were you at one point like kind of skinny at one point, like, or scrawny, and then you kind of gained weight, or do you have like a fitness journey that you went through?
I was like a stick. I mean, when I was in school, I was like 5'7", 5'8" for a very, very long time. And then out of nowhere, my face just went red, full of spots. And I shot to like 6'3", and then slowly crept to like 6'5", and I was just like a stick. I think I was like 70 kg, or like in the 60s.
Wow.
And I was like 6'5". So I literally looked like a beanpole. So I was like, I need to do something about this.
Yeah.
Started eating loads of food and just started hitting gym consistently. Kind of fell in love with it. I've been going gym since I was like 7 years old because I was doing swimming pretty competitively.
Swimming?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Like I could have went to the nationals, Olympics, etc. Like that level. I was doing nationals and hit second, first place quite a lot of the times.
Wow. So while you were 6'5", you were just strategy must have been
And that
crazy.
was when I was short, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, that must have been crazy seeing you swim like back and forth.
Nah, exactly, yeah. And I stopped that because there was no money in it. I
Okay.
was always money driven, and I was looking at the top athletes. Unless you hit first place in the Olympics and get sponsored,
Unless you're Michael Phelps, basically.
yeah, exactly, you're not really gonna make that much money. And I was like, I'm not into this swimming stuff no more. It's taking 7 training, 8 sessions a week, morning and night. They train in the morning and the night, 2 times a day, every day of the week. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not enough money. Who's paying me to do this?
Okay. Yeah, I understand. So I don't know if you've seen this whole trend going on right now with these morning routines. Shout out Ashton Hall. So what's, I guess, your morning routine looking like? You know, from the moment you... What?
Yeah, I done one of those, but I took the piss a little bit. Like,
Okay.
I started wiping banana skin on my face. You know those ones.
Okay.
But,
So tell the audience, what's your new morning routine now?
my morning routine, which is actually a serious morning routine, is that I wake up, I go for a run around 7 a.m. before market open. I like to clear my head because being in the apartment in the morning, I just got to get out.
Yeah.
Let me get some fresh air. I'll go out, down a whole liter of water. Once I've ran, I like to fast through the mornings. I don't drink coffee on an empty stomach. It's not the best. So I'd fast through the mornings. Once we get to around 12 p.m. midday, I would just get like a 2,000, 3,000 calorie meal in. Big, but healthy, not McDonald's, none of that.
Yeah.
And I'll get a healthy meal in. Usually, say if it was just the Whole Foods when they do the salad bar,
Yeah.
that's pretty healthy in itself.
I think
It's quick.
you were just there right now, right? Whole Foods?
Yeah, I had to because I've been fasting the whole day.
Okay.
So I'll go straight from fasting to where your stomach obviously doesn't start eating bad cells until 48 hours. So for someone who's going to fast, if you actually want to make sure that you never occur an illness, very rarely, if you fast for 48 hours, just once a month, the chance of you getting ill is very, very, very low because your body starts eating into bad cells, cancerous cells, cells that are going to make you ill, all in your stomach, even, you know, fat reserves, that all goes, carbohydrates, etc. Even people like, if they're trying to go from a point of where they're, say, higher on the weight and they want to drop down fast in 2 weeks, that's mostly carbs. And if you cut the carbs, high protein diet, like a meat diet, that's going to shred the carbs off and you'll lose, say, all of the water weight very, very fast.
Yeah, I haven't done the 3-day water fast. There's another trend that's been going on right now because I think I would actually faint if I don't eat for 3 days and just chicken broth and all this stuff. But I've been trying the carnivore way or the animal-based diet. I don't know if you do the same thing where you just eat kind of just grass-fed whole foods and just eating kind of only single ingredients. So I've been doing that, honestly. It's been working for me. Do you eat only meat or is there a specific type of...
That's an amazing diet.
food that you eat? Yeah. That's all I eat, meat.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. In a non-gay way, but that's a really...
Yo.
That's a really good diet to have because when I have that type of diet without the carbohydrates, because it clouds the mind, you know, it keeps you focused very much because the carbohydrates with the sugar, that clouds your mind a lot. And I find that's the best diet for me to operate on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I run off most of the time. If I'm on a bulking cycle, then it kind of goes out the window because I like to mix it with a bit of a dirty bulk, like 5,000, 6,000 calories a day.
Wow.
So I'd mix in a bit of chocolate milk, a bit of Sam Sulek diet for people that watch him on social media. But you can just ask ChatGPT to create you a recipe and that's going to generate you. Just get a personal chef to the house. For people that are getting consistent payouts, you start reinvesting that back into your health and get someone to personally cook you food at the house and then it's all sorted. Because cooking, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, no not time to cook. And you mentioned something great that I kind of want to ask you about. So AI, right?
Yeah.
AI, I think, is going to take over the world in the next 2 years. So how are you using AI right now and how do you think it's going to affect your industry?
Massively. To do with trading, not much. I mean, the top hedge funds, they've been using AI and trading softwares for a very, very long time. Trading in itself on a intraday and a short-term basis with hedge funds, that all went out of the window over 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's no human actual traders. They're more long-term investment portfolios, say 6 months plus. Then they only have to make a few informed decisions, which AI can't, about the next, say, 6 year or 10 years. But intraday, these bots are executing and closing in and out of trades within milliseconds, which a human can't do. So AI is affected massively already. People have only really seen the impact of AI within the last year, 2 years, where they've seen ChatGPT, which was a big one that came through. I use it on a day-to-day basis. I mean, if I've got to reply to someone and I can't really have the time, I just put it in ChatGPT. Can you reply to this person for me? Change it a little bit, send it off. Okay. No one really tells the difference.
No, everyone uses AI now. So, I mean, do you use it in your trades at all or like?
Absolutely not.
No. Would you ever do it or kind of build something that it can? AI right now, you can, I think, upload your entire mind, your entire psychology and everything to a GPT. So would you ever consider doing something like that and kind of
I
using
think
that for yourself?
when it comes from the checklist and the same model that I trade, I wouldn't trust AI to give me the confirmed result. I'd rather visually see it myself because there's some things that AI is not going to pick out. So I'd much rather just stay away from AI when it comes to trading and investing. I make those moves myself. And when it comes as far as crypto, as of now, I don't hold any crypto, only Tether, stable coins. Because Bitcoin's at 110, 111K at the moment.
Yeah.
It's way up. Originally when I first got into crypto, it was 7K. Then I purchased again around 70K recently. I've fully sold off everything as of now.
Really? And why is that?
Well, I hold crypto around 1 to 6 months at a time.
Really?
I'm not in and out like I am trading NASDAQ within 30 minutes. When I trade crypto, it's going to be on the 6 month to 12 month basis because it's a lot easier to predict and hold crypto through that period. Bitcoin in itself, it goes in cycles of 4 years. And usually the whole, US economy does. It goes in an inflationary cycle, deflationary cycle for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years, where they print money and then they're trying to bring it down again. It's like a Ponzi scheme. The whole of the US it's just the debt,
one big,
and it keeps going.
Yeah.
Eventually they're going to go to some sort of their own digitalized cryptocurrency coin, something like that along those lines to remove this debt from the country. God knows what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But crypto in itself at the moment, I'd wait for it to come back down to around 50, 60K.
Really? You think it's going to go back down?
Absolutely,
that low?
yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of, you could say, leverage involved with crypto. So once it starts dropping below certain important levels, people get wiped out and you see those 5-10% drops in a day, which happen. It will happen within the next few weeks or few months. I'm not going to try predict it. I'm not taking a trade to short Bitcoin, but at some point you'll see the 5-10% drop days. It happens. And then those are the biggest opportunities to make money.
So what's your opinion on these guys that are just banking on these meme coins, making them rich, and just these crypto bros that made money off a quick pump? Like, what do you think about this whole new era of, I guess, wealth that's coming out, this new rich that's coming out? Scams?
Yeah. Most of the small coins, they're run by a community of insider people, and then they run the coin. They already have access to the token. Then they drop it out in a community. Some people in that community will make money, and then say 90% they lose their money. They get rug pulled, right? Everyone's heard of it. Of course.
It's called pump and dump.
Exactly. So the insider people, they're guaranteed to make a return anywhere from a 2x to a thousands of x return, which a lot of them do. And the people who are inside the community, when the coin gets posted into, yes, they may get some sort of return. 90% are going to lose money because it goes rug pull straight back to zero at any point. The biggest holder can take it out at any point. I know that space very well, and it's full of scams. 90% of them.
Yeah, it's 90% of everyone here in Miami. Just whenever you see a rich kid with a rich million, it's either SMA or crypto, bro.
It's bad. Yeah. It's bad. That's why I don't really spend too much time in Miami itself. I came here to purchase the car. I was in Mexico. I had to go, obviously, because of driving too fast. They can't deal with me there.
Yeah.
Came to Miami and then probably transition over to Texas.
Yeah.
I love Colombia with the women there.
Colombia's where I'm from.
Yeah, bro. And just keep it moving.
Yeah. So out of everywhere you travel, what's your favorite spot, you think?
To be honest, I need to visit Brazil and I need to visit Colombia again. But the best spot, it's difficult to say. I'd probably say Colombia, but I wouldn't live there.
Why wouldn't you live there, Milo?
Look, there's benefits of every single place. My favorite place is definitely going to be Miami.
Yeah, okay.
For pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Women, money opportunities, investment opportunities, connections, the lot of it. If you want to purchase a car, tattoos, the lot. It's all going to be here. But when it comes to going straight to the source and finding the best women, obviously Medellin's going to have it. I went to Cali in Colombia. I didn't really find it that...
You went to Cali?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
probably almost got shot.
Yeah,
it's dangerous, no?
Yeah, it's very dangerous. Colombia is now, I think, level 3 tourist threat. So it's like at the same token with like Iran.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know.
Let me tell you something. You know Ben Kazik, ICT Kazik? So I was on a call with him the other day and he was actually considering on going to Venezuela crackers.
Bro, what?
And I was like, you've now gone off the charts.
Yeah.
Because
Medellin's
Medellin's
level
like,
5.
Yeah, Medellin's like, you might lose a kidney here.
Yeah,
but if you go crackers, like...
Caracas.
Yeah.
Crackers.
Crackers, yeah. I just feel like you just get cracked off and that'll be it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing on the news. Especially if you're looking like me in crackers, they're like, this guy's not from here.
Yeah.
Even if you're from there, apparently they're taking anything they got. They don't even care anymore.
No, and they're all coming here to the States too. Everyone from Venezuela. So even if you go, they're all pretty much empty because everyone's coming over here now.
Yeah.
And Miami, there used to be this, used to be, I guess, a lot more Cubans here.
Yeah.
And everything. But now, you see is a lot of more Venezuelans. Like there's Venezuelan businesses, Venezuelan this. Everyone is Venezuelan now. So it's like this whole movement happening here that I'm seeing all the time, and it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the good people, and it's also the bad people that are President Trump's taking out at the moment. So yeah, I would not recommend Venezuela.
The thing with Colombia, I mean, I've chatted to a lot of women from there, and a lot of them say they struggle to get a visa for the US. And some of them don't even have a passport.
No,
so they're like, we don't even have a passport.
I call it sponsoring them. You got to sponsor them over here.
Yeah, literally. Because they're like, oh, can you get me a passport? I'm like, yeah, for sure. But then they're like, I can't even get a visa. It takes 3 to 6 months. I'm like, I'm on to the next. I don't have time for this.
Yeah. Would you want if you want this, would you want your future wife to be from Colombia?
I can't really put a nail on the head right now about whether I'm going to do the settling down part. Because still, I'm just, the point where I want to get to is not even close.
Yeah, because you're still building right now.
Exactly. I mean, I'm like 20 years old. It's difficult to put.
20 years old. That's crazy. Wow, you're not even 21? You can't even have a drink.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even have a drink yet in the US, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, I can't really say until I get around 28, 29. Obviously, perspective of life will change a lot. The way I'm speaking now, I look back in 2-3 years and I think possibly I've changed massively on the way I view life and view everything. And as the months go by, for people that look back on themselves a few months ago, if you're not looking back and saying, oh, I've changed a lot, or a lot of things have changed within that time period, then nothing's really happening in your life. But every time I look back, say 2-3 months ago of myself, I'm like, I see a massive difference. And I'm like, I was this, but now I view it as this. If you're not evolving, you're doing something wrong. Yeah.
It seems you're really mature for your age, for being 20 years old. I know when I was 20, I was doing some stupid stuff. Well, I'm 23, so that was a couple years ago. But you know, you're very mature for your age. You think there's a point where you weren't as mature as you are right now, where you're kind of doing stupid stuff, messing around? You know, was that more when you came over here or when you were in London?
There's two sides, because I'm on a podcast at the moment. If you see me in other scenarios, you'd be like, yeah, he's 20. But there's other scenarios when you'd be like, yeah, no, he's intellectual. He conducts himself well in certain scenarios. So it's the way that I want to conduct myself. I can switch from one to another. So that's the benefit. Some people don't have the switch where they haven't quite got there yet. That's, I would say, something I've worked on, because I never used to be able to, say, speak in front of an audience, or when I was like 17, 18 years old. But then I'd grown over time, and now it just becomes second nature, you know? Yeah.
So, Manny, you made a lot of money right now, you know, at your age. You know, you're very young, obviously. Like I said, you're very mature. What do you recommend, or what do you say to those kids that have made probably this amount of money that you have at their age, 18, 19, 20? You know, what's your advice to them? Like, how do they manage their money? Like, how do they go about it? Like, what would you tell them?
Well, if you make money and you spend it all, you're broke. That's the biggest takeaway. That's the one thing I've learned massively. So when I started receiving consistent payouts, I was spending it all. I was going back to around 1K, 2K in the bank every single time. And I was spending the money that I made, expecting it to come back through the next month, which it was. It was coming through month after month. Sometimes when I had a break-even month from trading, I was cooked. And that's when I realized the person who spends all their money, even though they're making, say, 150K, 200K a month, they're spending it all, they're still broke, right? So it's very important to actually put, say, 50, 60, 70% of the money to the side. You're still spending 30, 40, 50K a month. But then you're putting that into other aspects, which is actually going to give you a consistent income. So if you sat there that month and did nothing, which I don't do anyway, I can't even sit in one chair for longer than an hour, but worst case scenario, you make no money, you're still going to pull, say, 30, 40 bands that month on a bare minimum, just from the incomes that you put in place from putting that money to the side. So it's important.
What would you say for you and I? You know, you travel the world and everything. Like, what's like the consistent amount of monthly a month you think someone has to get to be able to travel and like kind of just live online business life? What's that kind of number? I know some people say it's 10K, people say it's 8K even. Like, what's your number?
Well, when I used to catch the bus back into the gym, back in Bournemouth, right? I used to think of like Iman Ghatzi. It was like the first person I seen. And I was like, I want to get to like that level.
Of course.
And I used to think that level was like 10K a month. I was like, if I get to 10K a month, I'll be so comfy. I'll be so ups. Like, I'll start flying country to country, getting a few jet flights, buying designer. And I got to 10K a month. I couldn't even afford to eat. Come to Miami, you spend that within a couple of days. And I was like, oh no, this is not the point. If you're in Miami and you want to live a basic, but you're kind of enjoying your life and you're going out eating a few restaurants and stuff, I'd say 50K a month, and you're at the point where you're starting to enjoy yourself. You can do a few things, maybe drive a nice car, have an okay apartment, and start to live a decent life in Miami. If you want to live a boss lifestyle, then you need around 150, 200K a month. Once you scale to that, then after that, it's just stupid stuff. Like, you've just taken a 70 or 80 foot yacht out to the Bahamas. You're taking jet flights every single day, you know?
So would you say making 10K a month is harder than maybe, I don't know how much you made most in a month, but to guess, I mean, it's over 6 figures. You know, is it harder than making 6 figures a month? Like getting to that 10K is harder than getting to that over 6 figures?
Making your first dollar is the hardest thing. Yeah. I couldn't even make $1. Yeah. I was sat there for years and I was like, I wonder if I can just make $1 legally. Then I was
legally, guys,
legally. No crypto scams, no rug pulls. Like I actually just want to do something myself legally and just create a business that's going to actually bring in some sort of income. $10, $100. I would have been amazed.
Yeah.
And when that first payout hit, I was so excited. I spent it all. And that's what sent me in that spiral. And I had to really learn a lot of lessons that day. Not only just managing money, also psychology of trading as well. Massive lesson.
Yeah. So we talk about about psychology. You mentioned that word a lot during this podcast. So where did you kind of learn that you want to focus more on psychology when you start? Obviously, trading is you win, you lose, you win, you lose. So how do you deal with that and the psychology behind that?
When you repeat the same process so many times, you're not going to care about the end result, whether it's win-loss in other situations, other businesses. Just because one day you don't sell anything on that business, let's say, for example, you run a clothing brand, just because you got no sales that day does not mean you're going to have a negative mindset, not do the marketing, not do the other things for the business that makes it grow. So it doesn't affect me mentally. And I know part of trading is that you are going to take a loss. 34% of the time, I'm going to incur a loss. Today in itself was an example that I took a losing trade and I lost 28 points. This week, I'm up around 30 handles. Yesterday, I took a trade. I was up 58 points. And then today I lost around 28 points. So I'm up relative around, 30 handles in the week, which equivalates to a dollar amount depending on your capital. If you have a vast amount of capital with a lot of prop firms and a live account, then it's going to equate to someone a lot more than just runs a 50K account.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how do you handle prop firms?
Prop firms, well, the number one rule to run with prop firms is the 75% rule. Okay. I made this myself. I've not seen anyone speak about it before, but the 75% rule to do with prop firms is total drawdown. Let's say your total drawdown on that account is 2K. You do 2K times 75%, which will give you a figure of 1,500. You take that 1,500. If you ever drop below 1,500 of that total drawdown, then you go on half size. That's going to give you double the amount of trades to blow that account. If that happens and you blow the account still, then you kind of need to go back to the drawing board because that's around another 8 losing trades. It takes 2 to get down to 1,500 and 8 more to then blow the account. And if you trade a 50K account with, say, 5 micros, that's what I suggest with a 50K account. Obviously an eval going to funded, and then 2K, if you drop down to 1,500, now you're on 5 micros. Now you're dropping down to 3, so half size. It'll be about 3 micros. You'd have to take 8 losses.
Wow.
And then once you get back above 85%, of total drawdown, which will be around 1,750, then you can go back on full size and then continue to trade that account. And that is the best way to retain a prop firm account. The only way I see people blowing prop firm accounts is from either over leveraging or just taking, say, dumb trades, 50 trades in a day. It's the only way.
Wow, that's insane. I mean, like for me, I know a lot about day trading, but ICT trading is definitely a whole other world that if you want to get into, it probably is hard, but like you said, learning it, if you put in the process and everything, it should be not as hard as everyone thinks. So what's kind of like one lesson that you want everyone to leave with here in this podcast? Like what's one thing that, you say that they should take from this podcast, from listening to you today?
Let the model present itself and have the patience for the model to arrive. And the model itself will occur an A+ setup around once per week. So you can't expect nothing more. And 1 to 2 times per week for an A+ setup. A B+ setup itself would occur around, once every 2 days. Waiting for the model to present itself instead of taking dumb trades, that's going to leave you down the rabbit hole of blowing your accounts by taking dumb trades. So just have the patience for the model to present itself, and that's going to occur you a profit each month. And that's all you need. Yes, it takes time. Yes, if you have 150K account, you're only going to pull, say, $1,000 or $2,000 a month. But think about yourself in 6 months to a year, and you actually have to scale this up. You're not going into the casino like Toji with $500,000 and putting it all on red.
Yeah, don't look at Toji, guys. That is not a good influence.
He's not a good influence, and this is a business that you need to treat as a business, not a gamble, not a get-rich-quick scheme, no fast route to this. So just have the patience, and you'll reap the rewards.
Patience is key. It's one thing I've learned from you. Patience is key. And
absolutely, with any business.
Yeah. And what's the hardest lesson you think, in your entrepreneur journey, everything that you've been through, what's like the one lesson that you've learned throughout this whole journey?
The biggest lesson that I've learned, I would say it's to do with spending, that if you spend all your money, you're going to go back to zero and be broke. And I've learned a lot of lessons. You know, I always thought that I had to keep my circle so tight that I didn't even like to bring new people in, because I've had people do me over in the past, and I kind of lost trust, even, you know, myself.
Yeah.
At some points when you're trading and you can't control yourself to hold yourself back from a trade, I didn't even trust myself. And I said I was going to do something, and then I was going against what I said. So it's also building trust and confidence in yourself, and building a strong community and a group of people around you is very, very important. It's vital. And instead of letting, you know, loads of new people in trying to suck from you and take different things, it's very important. Just have that strong group of friends and you'll make it to the top.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, Milo, I mean, you know, now that we're wrapping up here for a bit, kind of, you know, last question, like, you know, what's next for you? What's your goal? What's the Milo looking like in the next, you know, couple of years? You know, how's that looking like, your future?
If we're still alive, well,
whoa.
I would say the Rolls-Royce Cullinan tomorrow is the first step. And the second step is, you know, the sky's the limit. I'm just going to keep pushing for bigger ambitions. I'm not going to, you know, show my cards as of now of what the future plans are, but we've got some very big plans.
Very big plans?
Very big plans, and I'll just leave it as that.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So, I mean, you mentioned also the one-on-one coaching. You know, how did they kind of get in contact with you? What's your handles? You know, just so, you know, kind of start that conversation and see, you know, if they even qualify.
For sure. Well, in the description of this podcast video, you guys will see it. You can apply whether you get approved or not. Feel free to do so, and I'll be in touch with you shortly over the phone, and we'll go from there.
Awesome, guys. Well, you heard it here first. Well, thank you, Milo, for being, you know, here at Content HQ. Thank you for the team behind this, and yeah, man, we're excited to see you grow and see your future. So
absolutely, bro.
Your handles will be down in the description below. And yeah, bro, let's kill it this year.
Drop a comment what you want to see inside of the next podcast. I guarantee you that we'll be back here shortly, and we'll be down to do another podcast for sure. Guys, whatever you want to see, drop a like, subscribe. Road to 100k subscribers. Let's run it up.
100k subscribers, baby. Let's get some food. Milo has fasted for a couple hours. Let's get him some food here in Miami.
Absolutely.
Some skinny Louie.
All right, we out.
All right, awesome.